In school, they teach us about history, which is interesting, but they usually talk about things everyone knows. What's really fascinating are the facts that not many people know about. For example, did you know that the longest year ever lasted for more than 400 days? And guess what? Hitler actually helped design a vehicle that we still use today. There is one more thing about Hitler that we'll let you know, as we're gonna share 20 unusual historical facts that you probably didn't learn in class. Number 20, the Opium Wars in China. Explore a pivotal era in Chinese history with the Opium Wars. These conflicts, spanning from 1839 to 1860, saw China facing Britain and France. China's defeat led to harsh concessions, including ceding Hong Kong and opening ports to foreign trade. While Britain claimed it championed free trade, China saw it as the beginning of its decline, igniting the century of humiliation. This period shaped China's later resistance against imperialism and feudalism, leaving a lasting impact on its trajectory and worldview. Number 19, the Great Emu War of Australia. In the 1930s, Australia faced the Great Emu War, as farmers struggled with crop damage caused by emus. The government sent a military force armed with machine guns to cull the emu population, but the birds proved resilient. Public outcry led to the operation's withdrawal, and a bounty system was adopted instead, proving more effective. Number 18, Hitler and Disney. Adolf Hitler, infamous for his campaign against Jews and leading World War II, surprisingly had a fondness for Disney movies. Despite banning American films, he considered Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs the greatest animated film. Hitler had a private screening of the movie and maintained a hobby of drawing Disney characters, including those from Snow White and Pinocchio. However, these interests didn't mitigate his atrocities. That's not the only thing about Hitler you didn't know. There is more. The original Volkswagen designer and Volkswagen Company co-founder was hired by Adolf Hitler for the project. Number 17, the Siege of Leningrad. The Siege of Leningrad during World War II, lasting 872 days, saw the Axis powers blockading the Soviet city, leading to severe famine and a one-third reduction in population. With supplies cut off, residents faced extreme shortages, resorting to cannibalism to survive. The blockade remains one of history's longest and most destructive, marked by staggering casualties. Number 16, longest year. Now, if we're talking about the longest year in terms of a regular calendar year, then it would be the last year of the Roman Republic's calendar. In that year, from January 1st to December 29th, because December only had 29 days in that calendar, it lasted for 445 days. These extra days were added to fix the calendar and make it match up better with the solar year, just before they switched to a new calendar called the Julian calendar in 45 BC. Number 15, Pharaoh Pepi II. Pharaoh Pepi II of the Egyptian Empire, known for his record-breaking 94-year reign, had some peculiar quirks, including a strong dislike for flies. Allegedly, he had his slaves cover themselves in honey to act as fly traps, diverting the insects away from him. Despite his disdain, flies held symbolic significance for some Egyptians, representing tenacity and persistence. Soldiers displaying these qualities were honored with golden fly awards, and fly amulets were crafted for protection against insect bites, offering a more refined alternative to Pepi II's honey-coated approach. Number 14, the Pope's War against Cats. In 1227, Pope Gregory IX spearheaded a campaign against cats, believing them to be carriers of demonic essence. He convinced the public to exterminate cats, attributing the plague to their presence. Ironically, scientists later discovered that fleas in the fur of rats and mice were the actual cause of the plague. The Pope's actions inadvertently worsened the plague by allowing flea populations to multiply freely, escalating the danger. Number 13, Martin Kuhn's incubator. Dr. Martin Cooney, an American physician apprenticed under Dr. Pierre Constant Baudin, introduced the concept of the incubator in 1897. Despite facing resistance from the medical community due to high mortality rates and costs, Cooney persisted, driven by personal experience. He organized exhibitions at Coney Island, showcasing premature babies in incubators, which captured public attention and support. Despite criticism, Cooney's innovation, inspired by chicken egg incubators, saved thousands of infants, offering them a chance at life and a promising future. Number 12, Belgium atrocities in the Congo Free State. Between 1885 and 1908, the Congo Free State suffered under King Leopold II of Belgium, who orchestrated a brutal regime aimed at extracting wealth, especially rubber and ivory. Forced labor, violence, and human rights abuses were rampant, resulting in millions of deaths. International pressure eventually forced Belgium to annex the territory, but irreversible damage was done, leaving the Congo scarred and its people victimized. Number 11. The history of dentures. The history of dentures dates back to around 700 BC, when artisans in northern Italy crafted the first false teeth for human or animal teeth. Materials evolved over time, with ivory becoming popular in the 1700s, followed by porcelain dentures in the 1770s. Human teeth were also used, harvested from soldiers or sold by the poor. In 1820, Claudius Ashe refined the process with porcelain teeth mounted on gold plates. Vulcanite was introduced in 1850 for denture bases, later replaced by acrylic resin and plastics in the 20th century. Number 10. Shadows of the Dead. World War II witnessed the devastating atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki by the United States Army, leaving behind haunting shadows of the dead. These spectral remnants, etched onto surfaces by intense light radiation during the explosions, serve as poignant reminders of the destructive power unleashed upon the cities. Nearly 80 years later, these shadows endure as perpetual testaments to the harrowing consequences of war. Number 9. Thomas Edison's talking doll. Thomas Edison, renowned for his inventions, including the phonograph, faced a commercial setback with his venture into phonographic dolls in 1887. Despite their innovative design, the dolls had a brief sales window of only 6 weeks due to cumbersome operation and quickly deteriorating wax records. The dolls' eerie voices struck fear into children, contributing to their commercial failure. Number 8. The story of the American flag. The iconic American flag, known as the Star-Spangled Banner, was designed by American designer Robert Heft in 1960. Heft proposed a design with 50 stars to represent the anticipated addition of Alaska and Hawaii to the Union. Despite initially receiving a low grade for his project, Heft's perseverance led him to present his design to President Dwight Eisenhower, who approved it. On July 4, 1960, the flag was officially adopted as the national emblem, proudly bearing 50 stars. This marked a pivotal moment in the evolution of the American flag, showcasing Heft's determination and foresight. Number 7. The Tuskegee Syphilis Study. The Tuskegee Syphilis Study, launched in 1932, aimed to observe the untreated progression of syphilis in African American men in Tuskegee, Alabama. Over 600 impoverished sharecroppers were enrolled, unaware of their diagnosis and misled into thinking they were receiving treatment for bad blood. Despite the availability of penicillin in the 1940s, the men were deliberately denied treatment. The study continued until 1972, resulting in fatal outcomes and severe health issues. Media exposure led to its end and prompted significant changes in ethical guidelines for medical research. Number 6. Stained glass church windows. Stained glass church windows are crafted using a meticulous process involving materials like potassium carbonate and sand, hand painting with metal oxides, and firing. Number 5. James Jameson's fascination with cannibalism. James Jameson, a great-grandson of John Jameson, the founder of Jameson Whiskey, embarked on an expedition to Central Africa in 1888. During this expedition, he committed a shocking act. Expressing a desire to witness cannibalism, he reportedly paid for a 10-year-old slave girl to be offered as food to cannibals. Though Jameson's accounts vary, his involvement in the event was confirmed by other alleged participants. Despite attempts to conceal the incident, accusations surfaced after his death, revealing his disturbing fascination with cannibalism. Number 4. Books in natural leather binding. In a dark chapter of history, some books were bound in genuine human leather, a practice known as anthropodermic bibliopagy. Popular from the 17th and 19th centuries, it involved using the skin of executed criminals and convicts for book binding. While not practiced today, some books with such binding still exist, adding an eerie element to their circulation. Number 3. The Chinese Massacre. On October 24, 1887, the Chinese Massacre unfolded in Los Angeles, marking one of the most horrific race riots in US history. Fueled by anti-Chinese sentiment, over 500 residents stormed Chinatown, resulting in the brutal deaths of 19 Chinese immigrants. Racial tensions escalated after a dispute among Chinese factions accidentally led to the death of a white man. The mob, including businessmen and law enforcement, ransacked Chinese homes and businesses, hanging 15 victims from makeshift gallows. Shockingly, only 10 men faced trial for manslaughter, all of whom were acquitted due to racial bias in the legal system. Number 2. Witch trials in Europe. From the 15th to the 18th centuries, Europe experienced a frenzy of witch hunting driven by fear and religious fervor. Accusations of witchcraft led to the executions of an estimated 40,000 to 60,000 individuals, mostly women. The trials were marked by flimsy evidence, torture, and grim fates for the accused: burning, hanging, or drowning. Number 1. The story of Minnie Dean. Wilhelmina Minnie Dean holds the grim distinction of being the only woman executed in New Zealand's history. In the 19th century, she offered nanny services to care for unwanted children in exchange for a fee. Despite suspicions surrounding the deaths of several children under her care, it wasn't until 1895 that authorities uncovered the horrifying truth: buried bodies of 3 children in her garden. Minnie was convicted of murder and executed by hanging. Well, that's it for today. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching the video. See you at the next one.